Hi, everybody. My name is Jason Vlad, and I'm an instructional designer and master trainer here at TechSmith. And welcome to today's webinar, part of our Snagit series of Learn One New Thing. And today it's all about the stamp tool. Now, when we envisioned this Learn One New Thing webinar series, it was simple. People like our long webinars, and they have time to commit to it sometimes, but often they want to learn about just one thing. So I broke down all the things I think inside of Snagit that would be cool to learn about, tools that are underutilized, or tools that when we do normal large webinars, people go, wow, can you tell me a little bit more about that? So that's what this session is all designed for. Today, I'm going to be working on Snagit for Windows in the most current version. And I also have an entire team of TechSmithies that I'm going to tell you about here right now. We have Nick, who's part of the Snagit team themselves, Paul Donahue, who's the major domo of the Snagit team. So they're going to be here to help answer questions. We have Robert from our tech support team. He is a top tier agent. And we also have Troy, who's here from our cloud and assets team, because we're going to talk a little bit about one of his services too. So let's get into the nitty gritty of what today is. First and foremost, the number one question that we get asked is, hey, Jason, is this webinar being recorded? Yep. Today's webinar is being recorded, and you will get a link to that in about 24 hours. So you can rewatch it as much as you want, share it with colleagues, send it to people who might find it valuable. Go right ahead. We're happy to have you share that information. I mentioned this during the pre-roll, but for those who weren't here, we have the team ready to help answer your questions, and we want all questions to be directed to the Q&A portion of the Zoom webinar interface. That being said, we can't promise to answer every question, but you'll have a better chance of getting your question looked at if you put it in the Q&A part of the webinar. The chat is also open to casually converse and talk about cool things that we're showing, so you can utilize that as well. We also have live transcription turned on, so if you find that valuable, Zoom has a live transcription service that you can click on the closed caption, and it will turn it on live for this webinar. And then, of course, when your webinar is done today, you're going to be prompted with a 1-minute 4-question survey, and we really appreciate you taking the time to fill that out, because it's how we as a team determine if we did a good job with your webinar. Was it what you were expecting? Was it long enough? Was it too short? What can we do better? What are you looking towards? So with that being said, let's just get into this. These are really casual. They're really quick. So today we're talking about the stamp tool. So I have my Snagit editor open at the moment on my screen, and the stamp tool is located up here in your toolbar at the top. Now, stamps are exposed like that by default. If you don't see your stamps menu or stamps option here, it might be hiding underneath your more drop-down folder, which would allow you to find all the other tools inside of Snagit. In fact, we're doing a lot of Learn One New Things on this. If my version of Snagit looks a little different from yours, one of the questions people ask is, hey, how do I find out what version of Snagit I'm on? Well, there's a real easy way to do it. If you go over to your help menu in the top left-hand corner and choose About Snagit at the bottom, that'll pop up a little window which will tell you the version that you're on right here. So I'm on the newest release version, version Snagit 2023.0.3. It was released back in January. So that is the most current version that I am running right now. So that's the one we're going to use today. So stamps. Stamps are fun. Stamps are a great way to add a little bit of personality to your image without any effort whatsoever. If we click on the stamp tool, you'll notice that the properties panel over on the right-hand side changes to a stamp tool menu. There is a drop-down here that has a whole series of options that come preloaded inside of Snagit. Everything that we could help determine would be a good use of normal stamp usage. So something like activity, there's a whole series of images in here. We have one that's labeled business, which is everything from like UI elements to pencils, cameras, pens, clocks, light bulbs, looks like trophies, common things like paid or overdue or custom or rejected. Those kinds of things are available to you as well. So you have all of these stamps that are already pre-built inside of Snagit and that are all royalty free and available for you to use. You also have the ability at the very top to search those stamps. And to be honest, sometimes I'm trying to find something, and since there's hundreds and hundreds of stamps inside of Snagit, it's hard to find one. For example, if I wanted to find, a green check mark. When I type in green check mark, it searches all the metadata that's associated with those stamps and finds me a couple of options. And I think I like this one right here. So I'm going to click on that stamp, and all I need to do to apply it to my image is just click on it. And it adds it to the image wherever I've clicked. Because it's a piece of media, I can re-click on that as well, and I can resize it. I can change its size and shape. I can make it a little bigger, I can make it a little wider, however I want, and then I can reposition it wherever I would like at that point. This is the simplicity of stamps. And if I find one that I really like this green check mark that I might want to use multiple times, I can click on the star in the upper right-hand corner, which turns it from white to yellow, and then it adds this particular stamp to my favorites menu, which is right here on the left. I now have a green stamp available to me. I actually have a couple other things that I've added from the stamps menu, but we'll talk about those later on if needed. So the really fun part about stamps is, like I said, I'm not a graphic designer. I'm a terrible drawer, but these allow me to find things that are easy. So if I want to say, I don't know, something that says new, you know, you get tagged with things that are new. I can grab this new stamp and put it right on this. This is an image I shared with my team today because this is all the upcoming Learn One New Thing webinars I've got scheduled so far. And I just added my first Learn One New Thing for Camtasia. So I'm sharing this out with my team, and stamps allow me to send this image without having to type a big email up or even a caption with it. It says new. I've highlighted it using a shape tool in Snagit and put a green check mark. I don't think I need to do a lot more to draw people's attention to that part of the image. Stamps have a farther reaching capability as well. One thing you can do is we actually have an asset library that's available to you as well. Right at the bottom of the stamps listing, there is a button that says download more. And when you click on that, that launches library.techsmith.com. It takes you right to the TechSmith Assets for Snagit page. In fact, it takes you right to the stamp selection. Now, TechSmith Assets for Snagit is a service. There is a paid version of it, and there are also items that are free. I happen to be signed into my paid version, but I can go through the stamp collections here and grab any packet that I find valuable. When you get inside the stamps menu here, there is a starter and premium checks over here. The starter one, which I can turn off premium and hit apply, are all the ones that are typically going to be installed by default inside of Snagit, as well as a few other ones that are kind of fun. Oh, geez, we've added a lot more. That's the other thing about the asset library and stamps in particular. We're constantly updating that and offering more options for people, which kind of keeps them fresh and new. Let's say I want to use this one, this media player buttons flat. I'm going to choose this by hovering over it and simply clicking on this arrow that says send to Snagit. If I have Snagit installed, which I do, and I have a version that supports stamps, which I do, I can click on that button. It will launch it right to Snagit. And then underneath my drop-down menu over here now, the stamps were successfully installed. I go to the drop-down menu, and I have them in my list. For some reason, it's showing up weird, and I think that's because I have my screen scaled. Let me change my display settings for just a second because I want you to be able to see that. There we go. We'll change that and pull Snagit right back up. Nope, they're not. They're in there, I promise you. They are added to my library. So if I want a media player inside of these, they're media right there. So when I type in media, those are all the new options that I just downloaded. So if I wanted to add even a heart stamp that happened to be part of that, I can add that to my image as well. So I use the downloadable assets often, but the thing I find the most valuable and the question I get the most about Snagit stamps is, can I add my own to the listing? And so that's what I want to show you today. On the bottom right, there was the download more option, but then there's a button on the left that says organize stamps. When you click on that, you're given this little menu that allows you to add things to a folder called My Stamps. Now, for Windows users out there, My Stamps is a Snagit stamp folder located in your documents folder. That's all it is. It's a folder in there. I want to add stamps to my collection here. But first, I'm kind of an organization guy, so I'm going to add a new folder, and I'm going to add one called TechSmith Icons. That's our company's icons. And when I click on that folder and click Add Stamp, it sends me out to my computer, and I happen to already have it to the folder I want, where I've got a whole series of PNG images, portable network graphics. When I click on it, instantly I have access to all of our icons, Fuse, Audiate, Camtasia, Snagit, Nomia, and Screencast. And when I hit close, I now, underneath my drop-down menu, have the My Stamps at the top and a TechSmith icon packet there. Wonder why this is happening. Oh, because I still got it searched for media. It's kind of a day. So now I have access to my icons. I just had to clear my search menu there. When I click on the stamp I want, I simply apply it. These are really large images that I saved from my computer, but they're vector form graphics, which means I can resize them and place them wherever I would like. And just like that, I have added my own stamps to the collection. One other way that I use stamps in combination with Snagit is I have, most of you might have this as well. When I send an email to someone, I have a built-in signature. And I'm going to open up a brand new blank email here. And inside that email at the bottom is my signature. Thank you, Jason, my title, company, and all that kind of stuff. What I like to do is I like to use Snagit, and I like to take a quick capture of my signature. And I'm just going to take a still image of it so that I've got it available to me. There it is. Looks nice. And then what I do is I go up to File, Save As, and I save my signature out into the world as a PNG file right here, this JV signature one. When I do that, I then come over to my stamps where it says Organize Stamps at the bottom. And instead of putting it in a folder, I'm just going to add one to the My Stamps collection by clicking Add Stamp right here. Go to my desktop where I have that image saved, double click on it. And now I have that folder, or that My Stamp collection over here on the left that now includes my signature. So if I go back to my image that I was adjusting earlier, I can now take an image, whatever one I wanted to share, use my contact information and just add it, almost like a little business card that I've added to my image at the top so that contact information is there and available. It's not clickable, but it does give you a quick glance at my contact information. So the way I did that was simply pulling up an email, which happened to be a new email where I had my signature available. I used Snagit to grab that image, just like this. And when I capture that as a still image, drops it into Snagit, and then I take it and save it as a PNG file or a JPEG outside of Snagit. So it's its own image here. So let's say new sig. And I have that available to me, which I then can bring in to my stamp collection on the right. Stamps are pretty widespread. There's so many different options for stamps, both built into the product and on the website. And if you have that asset library collection, if you have the premium version, there are a lot of different ones in here: arrows, fonts, all kinds of stuff. So if you find one that's specific to your business case, it might be worth looking at. There's an entire series of IT and computing stuff. Troy, who's on the website or on the webinar with us today, kind of runs that program. So if you've got assets that you wish were in there and you can put a wish list together, I'm sure you'd be happy to listen to those as well. So that being said, that's a lot of what I wanted to share about stamps today. I told you these Learn One New Things are quick. So let's take a look and see if there's questions that have come in so far from our attendees to see. Let's see here. Several folks are asking, how do I change the color of a stamp? So like a built-in stamp, if we wanted to go to like an activity one here, and I wanted to add this heart to my image. So some of the stamps have a properties section below them where you talk about your opacity and we talk about your shadows. As far as changing the color, you would think you could go to like the fill tool and grab that, but that's not how they're built. The images themselves, the stamps, are PNGs. They're flattened images that you bring into Snagit, so they cannot be modified from a color perspective. So that's a really good question. That's something we've talked about, the ability to customize it as well, but that is not something that we do normally inside of Snagit. Another question that popped up is someone asked about the ability to use a link as a stamp. So we're thinking you wanted to put like a hyperlink. So that's another thing to think about. When you share an image outside of Snagit, it is a flattened image. It's just a picture. So pictures don't support hyperlinking. If you want something that was linked, it'd have to be put into a document, like a Word document or a PDF, and then that image inside of that tool itself could be turned into a hyperlink. But like if I wanted to turn this signature into a link that automatically emailed me, I'd have to put it into something where I could link it out and share that as a hyperlink. But that's a great question. It's good thought around how to use the tool for sure. That's a good point. Stacy's just mentioning you could also, have a QR code generated and add that as a stamp and use that as your contact information. That's a really good idea, Stacy. Nicely done. Let's see here. Going through some of the questions that have come in. Can a stamp be added to a Word, Excel, PowerPoint doc? As it stands alone, it is a image. So they come into Snagit, you add them to your images and then share the image out. So that could be shared into the document itself. Let's see here. Team, I'm going to go to you and see if there's questions that have come in so far about, so the team is adding lots of feature requests that are going right to the team. And I'm telling you, the people that are in this webinar are the right people to ask those questions of. So is there anything else people wanted to see? And they can put it either in the chat where I have it here, or you can add it to the Q&A and I will answer that best of my capability. So John is saying my images don't go to my stamp folder. So let's review how to do that one more time. If I want an image added to the My Stamps collection, just like I added my signature here, you want to go over to the Organize Stamp button. And when it brings up that window, the default folder that's ready to be shared right now is the My Stamps folder. If I add a stamp to this collection, like let's add some more here. If I go to, well, I think I have my avatars in here. A bunch of cartoon versions of myself. When I click open, add those stamps to that general My Stamps folder, which show them up right here. Like I said, tend to organize my stamps. So I might create a folder over here that says avatars. And when I do, I might add those into that avatars folder right there. So now I've added one into there, and I would add individual ones as I find it necessary or want to use them in other places. So I could organize them just like that. So that should help you find where they are as well. So Justin asked, if I'm running a paid version, it says, if I'm running a paid version, will you have access to all the stamps or not? Justin, let's clarify. A paid version of Snagit or a paid version of the asset library? If you have a full version of Snagit, which you have launched here. So Snagit, you'll have access to all of the stamp collections over here on the right. So travel and places is in here. Symbols, and there's a lot of them in here, real common. I mean, Fastbender, maybe you can tell me how many hundreds of pre-built assets as far as stamps are in Snagit. I know there's hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of them. The paid version of the premium ones comes into play when you're talking about these on the Snagit assets or TechSmith assets for Snagit website. The premium ones open up a whole series of other ones, but there is a lot inside of Snagit right when you start, including other free ones on the website that you can peruse. Oh, this one's cool. Batteries and power. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm stealing this one. I'm taking this one and adding it to my Snagit collection now too, because I would probably find use of that. That one seems fun. So now I've got all the power and battery ones. Thank you for installing that. I appreciate you, Snagit. So now I've got the batteries and ones added to my collection as well. So they are available for me. Renee is asking, how did I create the avatar? Oh, you're talking about my avatar. This is actually created by a teammate of mine, Doug. Like there's the Snagit version of Jason. That was just done in another tool. I'm not sure what tool he used, but he made these for me a couple years ago. I don't quite look like that anymore, but well, maybe. I don't know. The avatar's beard is way better than mine. So So as far as that's how you cover those as well. Let me go to my questions doc one more time. So the ultimate question that people are asking is, can I use the Snagit stamps in other places? So the Snagit stamps are designed to use in Snagit. So I'll let another member of the team organize that as well. Is there a way to organize downloaded stamps into separate folders? Sharon is asking. So that's a good one for the team, and I'll make sure the team sees that as well. So you're talking about when we download them, like I just downloaded the batteries and power, right? I would think that the batteries and power would show up into its own listing here called batteries and power, when in fact, let's go into power here. They are in their own little section underneath the business stuff. So if I went in here, I could find them. To be honest, I very rarely, and I'm being dead honest with you, I very rarely go through the drop-down menus and select something except for holiday to go find something specific in a selection. I use the search method. So if I wanted to go with Christmas, and I know I like this peppermint here, I use this a lot. So the peppermint is there, but I just did it by searching for it. I don't specifically go perusing the folders themselves. I use the search functionality because when we added that search functionality and increased its capability, it works really well based on the metadata of the images. Yeah. Cool. So for Albert, you're saying I don't see organized stamps. So the organized stamp button is down here on the right underneath the quick styles. And when you open that menu, you see add stamp. Are you on the Windows or Mac version? That would be the first question I would ask, because it might be slightly different on each, but they perform the same way. Let's see here. Find a couple more. Yeah, so Mac is a little bit different. Import stamps is the same way that you would organize them as well. Just a slightly different terminology for the exact same thing. And I know that's not my favorite thing either, but I appreciate you letting us know for certain. So quick reminder, yeah, we were recording this webinar. Oh, actually, let me show you something really quick. This might be helpful for everybody, especially since you're all Snagit users. If you go to our website, techsmith.com, which is possibly how you found about our webinars, you might have signed up through email. If you go to the top of the screen here and go to support, and then choose webinars, you have our brand new webinar page that we've been building over the last couple months that lets you search for upcoming webinars. In fact, the one we had in the left-hand side here was the stamp webinar. But the thing that's most important is you can filter the different styles of webinar over here on the left. So you can find just the Learn One New Things one if you're interested. But all of our previous webinars are on this website as well. So if it says looking for previous webinars down here on the left, if you click Let's Go, it takes you to a collection of all of the recordings of previous sessions. So if this is your first Learn One New Thing and you want to learn about the other Learn One New Thing sessions, you simply click on Learn One New Thing over here on the left. It filters out everything else, and now you have access to all of our recordings. And this one that we're doing today will also be on this page probably this afternoon. If you don't want to wait for your email, it'll be up there in live. So if I wanted to learn about the toolbar, I click into this session. This is the entire recording. See, I told you these quick webinars. This one went 27 minutes. Normally they're an hour, and we're already 23 minutes into ours today. Telling you, if you like them, we appreciate it. Make sure you fill out that survey at the end. All right. So it looks like, thanks, Colin. I appreciate that. That's very kind of you. So Trish asks a great question. Can you add metadata to your own uploaded stamps so you can locate them by keyword? I don't think you can add your own metadata, but you can when you upload them, when they get added to your My Stamps collection or whatnot, you can select the one you would use a lot. Like if I'm going to use the Snagit version of my avatar, I can click on that star and add it to my favorites menu. So if it's a regularly used stamp, Nick, who's helping support today's webinar, he is I think, Nick, you're a TPM, right? You're a technical product manager. All right.
Sure am.
So thanks for joining us. So Nick showed me yesterday his collection of stamps, and there's two that he uses all the time. Since he's part of the development staff for Snagit here at TechSmith, he uses the Apple icon and the Windows icon on a regular basis, and he doesn't want to go searching for them. So he had those in his favorites menu so we can throw the Apple logo on or the Windows logo on to help identify when we're doing development work or feature requests or things like that. They are available for him at the drop of a hat.
I love custom stamps too. Like if I do something more than 2 times, I'm like, all right, that's becoming a custom one because it just saves me so much time as I'm going throughout my day.
Yeah, a coworker of ours, Dave McCullum, who's head of our research team, used to use stamps for tomfoolery, and he would just use them to mess with us and modify images. So while there's lots of great uses for Snagit that are appropriate business case, sometimes you can use them to have a little bit of fun with your imagery. So, all right, at this time, I think we're going to wrap this one up. So let's go back to our very last slide, which is hey, thanks so much for attending today. I really appreciate your time. We definitely appreciate your feedback. You will get a recording of this webinar, I promise. But now that you know where the recordings go, if you check back a couple hours, I'll probably have it up and live, ready for you to view. If you have any questions that you're getting stuck on something or something's not working the way you intended it to do, support.techsmith.com. That's where people like our lovely Robert Risden here and his team will help you through your technical issues as well. And don't forget about that survey at the end. Just takes a minute to fill out 4 questions. We appreciate you taking that time. Thanks for being here, and thanks to Troy and Robert and Nick and Paul for helping me out to help with your questions. We appreciate it. Have a wonderful rest of your day and hope to see you in another webinar soon. Take care.